Hi, and welcome to Real Clear Fetish Talks Real Clear Play, a podcast that dives into sobriety, kink, and everything in between. This is the season start of season 10, and this episode is, I'm just going to do this because that kind of shows you who we're talking to. So we're going stateside to San Diego to talk to Dr. Carlton. So I'm putting on my black rubber gloves because he is our online TikTok and Instagram butt doctor. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I love all the things about your podcast and the information, but also the sobriety aspect of it too. I think that's really cool.
And I've been a fan of yours. I discovered you on TikTok, and I follow you give so much great advice around anything around the butt, of course, because that is your area of expertise, and it's so helpful because as gay men, that is where we center our attention a lot.
Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of weird how it all started. I have two kids that were in high school at the time, so they were at home with me during the pandemic, and they were on TikTok, and I could tell that something was taking all their time. And I was a basket case because here people are dropping dead at work all over the place, and I don't want to be that guy. So I needed something to relieve the tension. So I started picking up their TikTok and kind of got lost in it. After 4 hours, I realized, holy crap, I've been, in this TikTok thing for 4 hours, and I've learned how to cook chili. It's already figured out that I am gay and that I like hairy guys. It really figured me out really quickly. That algorithm knows.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. As with every episode, I start with 4 standard questions at the start, and then we'll just see where the conversation goes.
Sounds good.
Fantastic. To start with, names, pronouns, and title.
My name is Dr. Carlton Thomas. I go by Dr. Carlton on Instagram, TikTok, Bluesky, and on my podcast. But honestly, pronouns are he, him. I don't have any leather titles, but I was a judge at International Mr. Leather 2025.
Oh, fantastic. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I competed in 2009. So.
Oh, wow. Well, that was my first leather contest ever.
Oh, you start with the big one then.
I just started at the top, baby.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
So I am 53 years old. I am a gay gastroenterologist in San Diego, California. I have 2 kids by surrogacy. They're off in college now, so I'm kind of in my second adolescence. I have a lot more free time to do the things that I didn't get to do when I was going to kindergarten workshops and things like that. So I got into TikTok back around the pandemic, built an Instagram around it because I wanted to focus a little bit more on queer health. The MPOX epidemic hit in 2022, and my pre-built platform helped a lot of people get medical care, get vaccinated, give advice, connect with other people through support groups. I think I listed about 3,000 different clinics to get vaccinated in across the world, and did a lot of lives to bring in people who had experienced MPOX, so people knew how severe it was. So I didn't want my community to hurt. Through that, I got a bunch of notoriety from the Out 100 magazine, Out Magazine's Out 100, Queerty Pride 50. Went to the White House twice in a former administration, not this one.
I was about to say, they're not going to invite you now, are they?
Yeah, I'm not going to get invited anytime soon. But yeah, so it's been crazy for me because here I was just a hardworking doctor with really nothing else going on. And then suddenly, boom, here I've got this social platform that is important for our health and I felt a real responsibility to make sure that our community was kept safe. And that's led into one of my biggest fans early on was a leather store in Austin, Texas called Sir Rat. And they actually called me out to Texas 5 years ago and said, hey, we'd like to have you come and do a butt stuff drag brunch. And so we're going to have some drag queens perform. And then you do the first half, it's going to be sexual health. And then they're going to perform again. And the second half is going to be butt stuff and how to make sex better. And so I did that, and it really caught on. And I started doing them all across the country. I've been to Orlando, did it in San Diego, Houston, Dallas, Austin, going to San Antonio next week. Because I'm a GI doctor and deal with anatomy and endoscopy and things like that too, I kind of fell into the fisting world a bit.
Bring out the gloves again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's a organization called Rieger out here it's in Dallas, Texas, and they fly me out twice a year to do the Spring Blooms and the Rose Bowl.
I love the
The Saturday
names.
morning of the weekend, I teach anatomy, safety, technique, and get to fist a bunch of guys for the weekend. It's pretty cool. So yeah, it's been a great experience, and people from all over the country come there. Even I think we even had a couple of people from like Berlin and stuff like that too. So it was pretty wild. I'm finding it through my travels throughout the U.S. The more conservative the state, the kinkier the men.
Of course, it's always the quiet one.
Yeah, for sure.
Third question, completely sober, clear-headed, or social drinker?
Rare alcohol. I mean, it's like maybe one glass every 3 months. I'm getting closer and closer to just being completely sober, though.
Fantastic. I think it's becoming more of a thing to become sober. You don't necessarily have to have an issue. There's more clubs and bars and so on to start catering for that as well, which is amazing. So fantastic. And
Yeah.
the last question, what is clear play to you and why is it important?
For me, clear play is all about communication, you know, setting expectations and boundaries and consent, and that's all very important to me when it comes to play and then making it real clear play. Yeah, for sober play, yeah, I think especially in the things I teach like fisting, I think sober play is incredibly crucial because when for me it's more about keeping people safe because when you're not in your right head you can make some decisions that could kill you during fisting. So I tell people not to do any crazy drugs while they're getting fisted, even though a lot of people do because
Yeah.
you can't tell when you're being injured. So I think it's for safety and staying alive. I think it's really crucial.
We see a lot, especially around chemsex and so on,
Mhm.
where people get into trouble or they hurt themselves quite badly. As a GI doctor, is that something you see very often?
I have seen the aftermath of it. There have been guys who got really high as balls and stuck really rigid toys up their ass and perforated their colon
Hmm.
because they just were jamming it in too hard and weren't really thinking and weren't really listening to their body, and their body senses were impaired because of the chemicals. So I've seen people who've had to have ostomy bags, and then they come and see me, and I inspect everything with a camera to make sure it's clear to come back together and reattach and get rid of the bag. So that's the biggest thing I've seen. And then obviously another thing that happens with the emergency situation is people losing toys, without a base, without a trace. So I always tell people make sure that whatever you put in your butt is meant to go in your butt, or at least has a very flared base at the bottom. Because if you have something like a can that doesn't have a base
Hmm.
that's flared out, it can slide right up in there and get caught, and then you can't get it out. So you have to go to the emergency room to get it removed under anesthesia, which is not fun.
No, yeah, always a flared base. That is the minimum, and
Yeah.
lots of lube.
Lots and lots of lube. I also like more flexible toys rather than really rigid toys. I think that's also important, especially if you're doing deep play.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think that's important. So, how did you decide you wanted to be a GI doctor?
Well, it's an interesting phenomenon. I grew up in the poor rural South and South Carolina, and I was in medical school and doing a visiting rotation with my local doctor who is not a gastroenterologist, and there are no specialists in small towns. So he had his own colonoscopy scope. He had a patient come in one day to have a colonoscopy, and he gave me the camera and said, "Ha ha ha! I'm going to give you this. I'll come back and get it from you when you're lost in about 5 minutes." And I think because of all the video games that I played as a kid in the 80s, I was just really good at getting around and finding the bad guy and taking care of it and everything like that. So he got back in the room and said, "Oh my God, you're as far as you need to go with this camera. This is your first time doing this." He goes, "You need to do this for a living." And I'm like, "Okay." So I ended up pursuing training at the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, which is like the best place in the world for what I do. I got trained there for 6 years. What I like about it is number one, it prevents cancer. Colonoscopies prevent colon cancer, which is one of the leading cancer killers in my country. Second in men after lung cancer, third in women after lung and breast cancer. I get to help people who are struggling with things like constipation, diarrhea, bleeding, colitis, ulcers, pancreas and liver issues. So it's quite a reach of things. And I get to do a lot of procedures while people are asleep. And I like that too. Kind of just get lost in it. And it's like a very high stakes video game where the more you find and the better you remove it, the longer the patient's going to live. So I find a lot of joy in keeping people around for their family's sake, you know?
This is a really lovely way of thinking of it, and it sounds very like gratifying work.
Oh yeah.
I love the fact that you're comparing it to a video game. It's like,
Yeah.
what video game are we talking about? Space Destroyers or something.
Asteroids.
Oh, you were quicker than I was. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, have you always been into kink? Or is this your, as you said earlier, your second adolescence? So are you just
That's a great question. I didn't really. I always kind of had an eye for leather and kink, but I never really. And I was kind of turned on by piss play and stuff like that. But I never really got into the kink aspect of things until I did that first show in Austin, Texas, and then they brought me back for Austin Kink Weekend the next year as a keynote speaker, and I got to go to a lot of the other classes. And then that same year, I actually went to Los Angeles Leather Getaway, which is basically LA's version of Claw from Cleveland. And they had tons of classes there. And I fisted a guy for the first time there. And it was a British guy, FF Muscle Daddy.
probably know who that is?
Oh,
Yes, I looked them up.
Dolan,
Oh,
Dolan.
Dolan. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Dolan Wolf, I think. Is
Yes,
that it? Yeah.
he was in my IML class.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was like perched up on this fuck bench like a Thanksgiving turkey, and it was Thanksgiving, oddly enough, and 25 of us got to line up and
Do things.
learn how to fist. I think it was ended up being more of a fisting bukkake session for him than than instructional for us. But we learned a lot, and it was really awesome. And I think when I heard him come, it made me realize there's because it was next level.
Mm.
It was
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
speaking in tongues. It was crazy biblical shit happening. And I was like, I don't know what she's having, but I want what she's having. So that kind of drew me in a little bit. And then I got exposed to the other areas of kink, like rope play, impact play, piss play. And just, it really opened my mind to be around it. And I don't always get a chance to and with fisting, I do that about every 6 months, sorry, twice a year. I kind of get it in at those events rather than incorporate it into my personal play life. But yeah, it's drawing me more into kink. And then, of course, being at International Mr. Leather and those markets and things like that, you could get exposed to a lot more too.
How is it being fisting someone when you know the anatomy, you know
Mm.
as a doctor what works and what shouldn't work and so on and like butt health. How do you
Well,
approach fisting
yeah.
with that?
Well, for me, it's really remarkable that someone can put their arm up someone's ass because when I do a colonoscopy with a camera, the camera is literally the diameter of my index finger. And I have a lot of twists and turns that I have to snake around with that tiny little camera and the diameter is not very wide in some of those spots. And it makes sense when I go in there and actually put my hand in there because I can feel the rectum as a nice wide open space. But as soon as you hit that turn,
Mm,
and you kind of wiggle your fingers a little bit, you can feel the opening going up to the next level.
yeah.
And for me, it's super trippy to be able to really, it's almost made me a better doctor in a way because I'm able to really get up in there and feel what things are like. And of course, the biggest thing for me is making sure people know how not to get hurt
Mm.
and the proper training that they need before they, take that step and the risks that are involved. And one of the biggest things I always say before I tell people, the real details of fisting is I really recommend for you to be connected with someone, and that usually means no chemsex.
Mm.
Poppers may be okay, but I don't advise chemsex as part of fisting.
Oh, if you could come over and explain that to a lot of people over here as well, that would be great. Yeah, because we do see with fisting, and especially people who become sober, they
Mhm.
think they will never be able to fist again. And it's a massive challenge, and it also leads a lot of people to relapse
Yeah,
because of it. But it is trying to explain to someone in early recovery, it's like you can get all this back. It
yeah,
just will take some work.
yeah. The party that I teach at in Dallas had 100 people at it, and it was a sober event, and so the sobriety part is a very important part of that organization so that people and they even have recovery meetings at the weekend so that people can stay on track. I think that's awesome. And with the whole sobriety thing as well, one of the shows that I always kind of had never really got into, but recently watched the whole thing from episode 1 to season 8, episode 19 was Mom on Netflix now.
Oh, I love Mom. I've
Mom
watched that whole
is
show.
like it gave me so much insight into not being sober and
Mm.
then the battle to stay sober. So that's been a real eye opener for me to see the real struggles that people go through. You know, I haven't had an addiction issue with chemicals, just haven't. But I see how people can definitely get that way, and it's scary because I've had friends that were incredibly successful, hopeful with bright futures who fell into crystal meth and died. And it was so tragic. And it's not just one person, it's a lot of people, you know. And here in the US, it's even scarier than there because we have fentanyl infiltrating everything, which will make you stop breathing if you have even microdoses of it. So they put that in things like ecstasy and cocaine and ketamine and all this stuff, and it can kill you. So now it's a really high stakes thing to. I mean, it's always high stakes to do drugs, but now it's even more high stakes over here because you're literally putting your life in your hands.
Yeah, we also are, I don't know if it's called fentanyl over here, but we have a similar issue over here now as well, where people are putting stuff into the drugs, and we do get on occasion get like some of the chemsex charities putting out messages is like there's some ecstasies going around that has this in it, please be
Mhm.
careful, blah blah blah. And I as much as I promote sobriety on my channel, I always promote, okay, this is going around, be safe.
Yeah,
Because
harm reduction is important, you know,
mm,
because the reality is a lot of people aren't going to be sober, but if they're not going to be sober, at least the least we can do is give them the tools to stay as safe as possible and not die, you know.
oh, I've on a many occasion when I talk to someone early recovery and they don't quite know how to approach sex or fisting for that matter as a sober
Hmm.
person, and I'm just like, well, come over and we'll have some fun. I'm a
Yeah.
safe person to do that with. I'm not
Yeah.
going to force anything on you. And when it comes to fisting, especially in early recovery, and you want to do that, but you don't quite know, if you can that day, fine, then we'll just do something else. That's the thing. You can't force fisting.
No, right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Don't want to get injured or injure someone else for sure. Yeah. So the biggest injuries I see are people who have rips or tears from going in too fast,
Mm.
from people who bleed from hemorrhoids. And then on the injury side of things, it's rare that it happens actually, but it happens. You know, anywhere from people didn't realize they had diverticulitis and they stuck the hose up their ass to clean out with, and it popped open the diverticulitis and they ended up having surgery. To I was getting fisted and if everything felt normal, but the next day my abdomen was rock hard and I had to go have surgery, you know?
There is so many things that can happen, and especially the inside of the colon is so thin,
Oh yeah. After you get past the
laser thin.
rectum into that second hole, it's really thin. So that's why I'm just again shocked injuries don't happen more frequently.
Oh, I've played with guys where I'm up to here, where
Hmm.
I'm just like, where's it going?
Yeah.
Do you have
Yeah, I know
like,
in Dallas this past week I had a guy who had part of his colon removed. And so it was like a straight shot. So I was literally like that too. And it was crazy.
yeah, it's interesting. I've played with guys where I'm just like, this is not normal.
Yeah.
It's I had a lovely session with a guy today, and it was really fun. But it was only just up to the rest, and that
Yeah.
was what they were happy with. They didn't need to go any deeper, and they're very happy.
There's so much sensation down that low, especially if you can use your knuckle to hit the prostate a little bit. That's really cool.
Oh, he was like, don't hit the prostate. I will come very quickly. I was like, oh, fantastic. Okay, fine. I'll steer clear of the prostate.
Yeah, it's funny when I went to Dallas the first time to get in there, I said, I've only fisted one guy before. I need some practice. And there was an evening party prior to the morning the next day, and the guy who runs the place said, "Come on over here. I got two guys you could drive a Mack truck through." So I go and I fist them, and then when they come, they shoot over my shoulders. That's how intense it was, and the way that they were writhing and screaming and just in pure ecstasy. It's like there's something different that's happening there for sure.
It's one of the reasons it's so popular.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys when as soon as you kind of unlock that, like,
Hmm.
oh, I can put things in my butt and it makes me feel amazing. It's
Yeah.
hard to do anything else. This
Right.
is this is why people go out like full on fisting, and it's almost no other fetish is important when you do
Yeah,
fisting.
right, exactly.
So you became a GI doctor. Where did you grow up?
I
Sorry.
grew up in South Carolina, which is probably one of the poorer areas of the U.S. on the southeast coast. Very conservative, very religious, very rural and local, and like farm country. Knowing I was different even at 6 or 7 and watching television shows like the Beverly Hillbillies or Brady Bunch, where they're in California, I was like, that's where I want to be. This is yeah. Yeah, I don't want to be around all these churches and shit. I want to go to California. I always just made it my goal and I just made it happen.
How did you find growing up in that area and being gay?
Oh, very closeted, very, I never told anybody. I was terrified to. And then I think the thing that really hit me harder than most people, well, it hit everybody my age hard, but I'm 53. And when I was in my teens, AIDS was happening
Mm.
and killing people like crazy. So I was kind of terrified of sex for my whole formative years of sexuality. And that really put a damper on how I viewed sex. And it made me fear it, made me feel dirty about it. It made me feel scared. So I think that I didn't really grasp onto my true sexuality until things like PrEP came along, where I was like, okay, wow, you can use this medication and not get HIV. And I've been on PrEP for 12 years now.
Mm.
And trust me, I've been through a lot of numbers and I'm still HIV negative despite all that.
Yeah.
But which is crazy to me, considering before all you had to do was have one bad night and you could end up dying. So once I got that reassurance, I was able to explore a lot more, and it made life a lot more fun. And we even like over here, things like bathhouses were shut down and dark rooms and back rooms and bars and things like that. The bathhouses are back up now. The dark rooms and bars are starting to happen kind of behind the scenes in
Mm.
some places.
Yeah.
Not definitely not like Europe where there's a lot of backroom play, but there are some backrooms in certain bars in certain cities.
Well, yeah, I remember my second time in San Francisco in 2012, and Recon had put up one of their parties, and it made me and my partners at the time snicker because one of the commercials said European style playroom because they hadn't had a sex license, so they could do it. And we were in there, and we were like, all the Americans were in the playroom, and all the Europeans were just at the bar. We were just like,
Yeah.
we know that. We don't need that. We weren't that impressed. So it was
Right,
it was
sure.
very interesting to see that. And that was in 2012, so a while back now.
Oh yeah, for sure. So that and the, commercial sex parties are a thing now,
Mm.
like which has been great for opening minds and exploring sexualities and things like that. So with all this great sex we're having now, my job is to kind of give people kind of my pillars of sexual health so that they know best how to protect themselves. And I really applaud, Britain right now for the UK has just instituted the first gonorrhea vaccine in the world. It's not specifically built for gonorrhea, but it has a cross reactivity of about 40%, and that MEMB Bexero vaccine is being used as gonorrhea vaccine. And that's something I've been harping on for 3 or 4 years in social media. I have several pillars of sexual health. The first one is knowing your HIV status. If you're negative, go on PrEP to prevent it. If you have risks, if you're positive, go on treatment to get to undetectable. An undetectable person cannot pass the virus through sex. Know about PEP, which is post-exposure prophylaxis. If you do have an event and you're not on PrEP, you can still remain HIV negative if you take PEP properly. You have a high percentage chance of staying negative. Number two is getting tested properly. A lot of people don't know that they need throat swabs and butt swabs in addition to urine tests and blood tests because gonorrhea and chlamydia only hide out in where you're infected. So you might have a throat infection, but your urethra is normal. So if you just give a pee sample, you're going to miss that throat infection and spread
Yeah.
it through the community more. Same thing with anal swabs. I've had an anal swab that was positive for something one time and everything else was clear. So it just really, you just never know. So it's important to check all your holes. Um,
Any hole is a goal.
Yeah. Thirdly is vaccines. We mentioned the Bexero vaccine. MPOX is kind of on the comeback now a little tiny bit, not nearly what it was in 2022, but there is a smoldering of it. Hep A and B are important. Hep A you can get through rimming. Hep B you can get like HIV through blood and body fluids. And then your HPV vaccine is really important. HPV is the virus that It causes anal and genital warts and is a huge risk factor for anal cancer, especially if you're HIV positive. So you can avoid all that just by getting the vaccine, which is available up to age 45 now. So that's been really exciting. And then another meningitis vaccine called ACWY, quadrivalent one. It because of the way we gather in certain instances, every 5 years or so, you'll see an outbreak of deadly meningitis in small queer communities. A couple of years ago, it was Miami and Florida overall. Before that, it was Chicago. Before that was New York. Before that was LA. These little outbreaks can be prevented by this vaccine, which is also crucial. And I also tell people, know about DoxyPep. I don't know how big it is there in England right now, but
You can buy it yourself, but it's just normal antibiotics. It's just taken as prescribed as how Doxypap would work. So it is here. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, certain places they don't do it or they don't recommend it. So like I was just in the Netherlands and did a podcast over there, and they said they don't except for some rare cases they'll recommend it. But I'm a high proponent of it. Chlamydia and syphilis especially, it doesn't really hit gonorrhea as well. So people will take Doxypep and wonder why they still got infected. And I'm like, it's not a silver bullet. It's just protection. It's
just another layer
risk reduction,
of protection.
And then finally, I tell people, hey, listen, inspect the merchandise before you play. If you see things that don't look or smell right, get out of there.
Yeah, don't put it in your body if you're sure it's clean enough.
Yeah. Try to reschedule or schedule. Let them get their issues taken care of, and then talk about it later.
And don't share toys.
Don't share toys either. Yeah, and that's a big thing that I want to tell people too. Is you always think of rimming infections like Shigella and Salmonella or E. coli as just from rimming, but it can also happen from sucking a top's dick after they've been in someone's ass. It can happen from sharing toys. It can happen from one top fucking one bottom and not cleaning off his dick and sticking it in another bottom. And I had Shigella last month, and it was awful.
I've had it twice.
Yeah, bloody diarrhea, cramping, fever to 39C. It was bad.
Yeah, first time was from rimming, and it was in a sauna. So go fucking figure. It's a very effective way to lose weight, that's for sure.
Definitely, I lost 4 pounds for sure, but not the most fun way for sure.
Oh God, no. And the second time was sucking someone up. It wasn't clean. So I remember being so angry, just like, I wasn't rimming anyone. Like,
I know, right? For fuck's sake, this is a rimming thing. Oh, I guess not.
Shigella is not fun. I remember the second time because I'd been to the doctors and they gave it on to infectious diseases. And all of a sudden I get a phone call. Where are you? From this infectious diseases department. I was just like, I'm not going to explain you where I got it from. They were like, have you been to a restaurant? It was like, no, I have not been to a restaurant. It was an interesting experience having someone call you up just like, you have this disease, we need to quarantine you. It's like, I'm in a different country, you can't quarantine me.
Right.
I wouldn't wish that on anyone. And that's one of the things that come from, it's like, you can clean as much as you want, but sometimes there is like that little bacteria, and then all hell breaks loose.
For sure.
You travel all over the place now. How has that been to go and meet people from being on TikTok?
From being unknown, to like walking. Like I was in Greece on my 50th birthday, swimming in the sea off of Mykonos, and this Australian guy swam up to me in the sea and said, "Hey, you're that guy who makes those videos, aren't you?" And I'm like, "Holy shit. We're from 2 different continents on another continent, and this guy recognizes me from the stuff I put online." I know I haven't put a lot online lately. That's going to change soon. I'm getting back to it, but it's really crazy to go to almost any gay bar I go into in the world. Somebody's going to recognize me, and say, "Hey, you're that guy, aren't you?" So, and I love it. I love it when people come up to me and talk to me, and I'm really supportive and appreciative of them. I don't act like a dick and say get away from me. I always make time for people, any pictures or whatever they want, or any private questions. It's been really wild. It's also been funny to be out and about with like family and friends, and to be walking down the street in New York City and somebody go, "Dr. Carlton," and my kids are like, "How do these people know you?" So
you don't want to know.
But they know. It's pretty funny. My daughter is a student at NYU and theater in New York and at Tisch, and she of course it's theater, keep that in mind. So on her first day of classes, they asked her if anybody in her family did something interesting. And she said, well, my dad's a social media guy. And they're like, oh, who's your dad? And she said, Dr. Carlton. And she said there was a gay gasp that let out in the room. She goes, Dad, all the bottoms at NYU follow you.
That's fantastic. It's lovely that your kids are, I'm assuming your kids are very supportive of all this.
Yeah, I mean, they're 20 years old and they're very liberal and they don't want to talk about it, but they're not ashamed of it.
Yeah, you don't want to get into details with dad about
Mhm.
things, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, what's funny is their friends and their friends' parents follow my Instagram, so they see that I'm going off to wherever to teach fisting this weekend in Dallas or whatever, you know. So
I think like when you go online, you have to kind of like because you're doing something so educational and so beneficial for a lot of people,
Mhm.
it is quite admirable. But yeah, I can understand if your children are not necessarily the ones who are looking at your Instagram or your TikTok.
Yeah, it's been pretty funny though. Yeah, for sure. They've been really supportive. And then like I said, just to be able to be recognized somewhere, that's been really crazy for me. That's something I'm not used to. The only thing I will tell people is I have like 400,000 followers across different social media platforms. So a lot of people know who I am and I have no clue who they are. So I'll go to a bar and somebody will wave frantically at me and I'm like, who the fuck is that?
It was like, have I forgotten someone? Jeez.
Exactly.
But no, they just know who you are. That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Or maybe they've met me before, but I meet so many people all the time and I just forgot. So it's never meant to be personal. It's just a volume thing sometimes.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I would say like I don't nearly have as big a following as you do, but
but still people recognize you.
people recognize me, or I've even had like because Real Clear Fetish started as a Facebook group for people who play sober. I've had someone recommend that group to me
Yeah.
because we were talking about sobriety. Oh, you need to check out this group on Facebook. That would be great for you. It's like, yeah, I made it.
That's me. That's
Yeah.
my group.
And I love those interactions. I think the first time I had someone come up and talk to me about my podcast, I didn't quite know what to do
Right.
because I was a little bit like, oh
Well,
shit.
no, there's not a handbook for that. They don't tell you how to handle that. So
It's a huge compliment,
yeah.
and I love your videos because they're accessible, and you
Thank
make it
you.
understandable. Because
Yeah.
a lot of doctors, when they talk, they do all the big words, and it's like I have no idea what this person's saying.
Yeah. I like to tell people, hey, listen, I'm a doctor. I just happen to be a doctor. I'm as much of a fucking pig as you are. So I do the same shit you do. I'm going to teach you the things you know to reduce your risk and still have a lot of fun.
And I think that's important, and that's amazing. You kind of said at the start, it's like this is your second adolescence.
Yeah.
Do you feel like a kid in a candy store when you go to these events as well?
I do. I do. Yeah, I definitely do for sure. You know, people have been affected by different things from learning how to open up their holes through my butt clock technique to getting help during MPOX to finding out vaccines and things like that. I did a video the other day. I had to do videos all the time, or at least posts on my stories about the importance of like HPV vaccine prevents anal cancer. And somebody the other day goes, "Oh my God, I didn't realize that was for men too." And I'm like, do you even look at my page?
No, no, they're just looking at it because you're pretty.
Maybe.
So you mentioned about MPOX because it
Yeah.
of course arrived here as well.
Yeah.
And one of the things I did was I followed your example and I
Mhm.
started posting about locations and
Yeah.
here's the times you can go. Here in the UK, we had cases,
Yeah.
but not nearly as many as you did in the States
Oh yeah.
because we were so quick and the whole gay community just huddled together and it's like, we're just going to go and get this vaccine right away. We are
Yeah.
going to
Well,
let this become a thing.
for
So,
us, it was initially about availability because there was such a limited supply.
yeah.
And like Texas has over 20, I think 25 million people, and they only had 700 doses of the vaccine. And it was the epicenter for the disease here because there was a party where 200 people got infected.
Wow.
And then and the problem with why I think why it blew up so hard here was all of our prides fell right after it hit here. And so people were like, Chicago this week, you know, New Orleans next week, New York, Atlanta, LA, Mazatlan, you know, part of Vallarta, you know, so there's a big intermingling of people who were infected. So the UK and Canada were right on it. I mean, they just jumped right on to, people were getting vaccinated like that. And for us, it was a little bit more of a delay.
Like you mentioned that you got to go to the White House because of the work you did online to
Mhm.
get people to go and get vaccinated. That's
Mhm.
so cool. There might not be
Yeah.
a White House in a couple of months. He's already turned
Yeah.
one of them.
Yeah. I know for sure. Yeah. I went from being at the White House to wondering what country I ought to get to if things go south.
But that must have been an experience. It's like going and meet the president because
Yeah.
I made sure people didn't get sick from this terrible disease that can kind of sit either around your anus or around your dick or even
Yeah.
in your face.
Yeah, for sure. It was pretty wild. Yeah, and I not only got to do that, but I got to because I had those ideas. I'm online and everything. I got to use that weekend to go to Health and Human Services in the CDC, the Health and Human Services building there, and speak with the then trans Assistant Secretary of Health and Human Services and talk about my gay agenda for health, which included getting anal pap smears for anal cancer and anal testing standardized, and number two, getting doxypep up and approved because a lot of doctors were not giving doxypep because there were no guidelines. So my last time I was there, like the first time I was there, I did that meeting, and then by the time I had come back, it had been instituted through national programs. So social media can be a good thing sometimes.
It's not the root of all evil. Is there a
There is
lot
a
of
lot of evil, but it can be a good thing. Yeah.
yeah, and I feel like we both try to use it for something positive and good and also talk about difficult things.
Yeah.
Butt health is one of those things like, ooh, we don't want to talk about it. It's a bit dirty or
Yeah, it's taboo.
taboo, yeah. So when did you become a dad? Just spring completely different.
20 years ago. So my partner and I decided to have kids, and we thought it would be a long process. And we got pregnant on the first go. It was like boom. And it was twins right away. So we're like, okay, that's enough. So, now our kids are almost 21 years old, and it's been the best thing in my life to be a dad. It definitely is a lot of sacrifice. You have to give up a lot of your own life so that they can have the things that they want. Like when I got done with med school, I was like, oh, I'm gonna shop at Prada and Gucci and Versace, and then I ended up shopping at Target, which is our like boots, because 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 I couldn't afford all that other stuff because I wanted them to have those things, not me. So
But now you can treat yourself a little bit more.
yeah, for sure.
Now it's your time.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm making the most of that.
Well, it sounds like it, absolutely. So how was the experience of judging IML?
IML was amazing. I had no idea it would impact me like it did. I had no clue or warning what I was going to experience. And to be that intimately involved with 68 contestants for, a good 2 days, 3 days, I felt like I came home with 68 stories, and they were all impactful in different ways. Some made me change who I am and how I act. Some inspired me to be a better person, and some just broke my heart. There, from I loved the trans inclusiveness of this year's class. Everybody wore a trans
Mm.
wristband. There was a trans judge, and the first runner up was a trans man. So I just thought that was phenomenal that we've come so far
Yeah,
in the leather community.
especially with IML because there's been some rocky couple of years with
There's been some
IML.
rocky times, but now they've got it together. They've got a great new leader, and their staff is great. They're trying to correct a lot of the things that were for old guard stuff that just isn't acceptable anymore. And like even this past year, there were guys. Just because it's leather doesn't mean it has to be hardcore Tom of Finland. It can be light blue leather with light blue 7-inch heels if you want. It was just a great diversity showcase this year.
It's nice to see because if you, for example, if you watch MIR, Mr. International Rubber, or International Rubber because they do gender,
Yeah,
they
the gender thing.
use
Yeah,
whoever
yeah,
whoever wins because rubber is so expressive and you can kind of just do what you want with rubber. Leather can also do that.
yeah,
Absolutely. And I think we're getting better at it, especially like going away. I'm not saying I'm not dressed as the stereotypical leatherman today, but
yeah.
you see a lot more color and it doesn't always have to be black. which is
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, I've been really excited about that. Meeting people from all over the world. The judges, I became like a second family to me. We were locked in that tiny little room for hours upon hours upon hours with these contestants, and it was just a really, really good experience. And to see what all these folks go through on just that it's a rough weekend for the contestants and the
Oh,
judges actually.
I've been through it. It's a lot. I think for me, I was 24 when I competed. I don't remember much of it. It's very like whew, you blink
Yeah,
and it's over, kind
but
of.
once you do it, you're part of a fraternity that very few can call.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think back on it with massive fondness, and I still quite very close friends with some of the people I was in class with. Of course, a lot of them are in the States, so it's very difficult to see them very often. But it's yeah, it's something very special to do. I've been very proud of some of the current Mr. Europes when they've gone over to compete because that is very special to me. Also because I'm one of the older title holders when it comes to Mr. Europe now, so I feel quite responsible for some of the contestants. So especially like Stefan, who competed for Mr. London Lever, he's such a
He was
sweetheart.
phenomenal. He blew me away. He was awesome.
He
So I was
is
very proud of him.
he's such a lovely man,
Oh
absolutely.
yeah.
But that it was a good class as far as I could tell.
Yeah, and there was a lot of international contestants in the top 20, which was great.
It's we always place very well, which is good because a lot of people were like when they think about IMLs, a lot of I feel like some people who haven't gone to IML kind of go, "Oh, it's an American competition, so it's just going to be Americans in the top 20." And it's like,
Yeah.
no, that's not true.
Not true. Yeah.
It's not true at all. And oh, it's all going to be like pretty muscle men. It's like, no, no, it's
No, there was
very, very varied.
yeah, I don't think I saw very many six packs.
They eat well.
Yeah, everybody's who they are, and that's what really wins a contest like that is being your authentic self. It really comes across when you're trying to be someone that you're really not. But if you're comfortable in your own skin, it really shows through, and that's what we look for.
Did you have any time to do anything besides judging whilst you were there?
Not until the victory party, which is at the very end,
Yeah.
and I made up for lost time at the victory party.
Did you now? It was a good
And then
time.
because
You did
I didn't have sex at all from Thursday until Sunday night.
as a competitor, I will say I did have a little bit of fun when I was there.
Yeah.
But that was with the other contestants, which you're not
Mhm.
really supposed to.
Right, right,
There
right.
is kind of
Well,
this unwritten rule, don't have sex with the other competitors. But
that was one of the for this past year's tour for me, it was kind of tough because I knew I was going to be a judge. And then like at Austin Kink weekend this past year, 20 contestants from IML were there. And so I couldn't go into the playroom. So I just was kind of shut out.
oh no,
So
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
here, I look at my husband. I'm like, here, honey, you go do your thing. I'm just going to stay out here outside and drink a lemonade and
You
a
kind
diet
of like
soda.
if you approach a guy, you kind of have to go. It's like, are you competing at IML this year? No, fine, come with me.
Right, exactly. I
Well,
should have been more aggressive like that for sure.
yeah,
Um,
just ask. It's like,
yeah,
or are you a partner of someone competing?
right. Because that's the
Yeah.
other part.
Oh, people will talk if you're not careful, that's for sure.
Mhm.
So now that you're not a judge and you now can go to events and so on, have you ever got moments when you're at play parties and halfway through a session with someone they realize who you are?
Before we start, after we start, when we're done, at all points. Yeah. Like I was in a play party here called Drain Your Nut. And I went up to play with this guy and we finished. And at the end of it, he goes, "Oh my God, I've been fantasizing about this for 3 years." And I'm like, "What?" So it's been kind of wild. And also, I have a lot of really kinky preferred followers. So like which is great. We were in an earthquake here in San Diego not too long ago. It wasn't that a very big one, but I had my scrubs around my ankles in the surgical suite toilet. And with the earthquake, everything started whizzing around everywhere. And so I came out of the bathroom and my scrubs were all covered in sprays of piss. And I took a picture as oh my God, look how funny this is. And you'd be surprised how many people offered to buy those.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure. Do you get a lot of people approaching you for like surgical play? Because that is a big thing.
Yeah, I mean, people come up, the people online, like on different apps want to do that kind of play, but it makes me feel weird, so I don't really pursue
Well,
it.
oh yeah, absolutely. That was kind of what I was trying to get at because
Yeah,
it's your
yeah,
work. You wouldn't want to
yeah.
do that. It's the same when you run into someone who's a policeman. Can you have your uniform on? It's like, no, it's my work. So
Right,
could
right, right.
imagine it's the same as a doctor. If someone's like, oh, I want to do this medical thing.
We can certainly fetishize people for certain things, but sometimes that's doesn't necessarily make them feel really great about
No, no, that's the thing. You kind of have to be mindful of that. And
yeah,
but yeah, I'm sure you get approached about that.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are coming to the end of the episode, but
Mhm.
just to round it up, do you have a favorite piece of gear?
Well, I'm wearing it right now. I have a vest that I took a lot of my pins from IML. Like I
Fantastic.
went to the Leather Archives Museum, and some of the contestants gave me pins and stuff like that. And I even had my own little pin made for being a judge. And I
Oh,
gave that to all the contestants, and I hand wrote them all individual notes
wow.
for when they came off stage at the end, and gave them the pins. I don't know if it meant a whole lot to them, but some people, you know, at least a few of them were like, "Wow, you took all that time to handwrite me a personal note to congratulate me on being a part of this. That's so cool."
Mm.
I thought it was a big deal, you know.
It is a big deal and it's very emotional and it's very important. I still have some of my pins from my year I've kept. They live on a denim vest instead. But yeah, they're very important to me. So no, trust me, they've been very important to the people you gave them to, absolutely. And just in case anyone's listened and they've really gotten something out of you, what you've said, or they have a question or something, where can they get a hold of you?
My Instagram at Dr. Carlton, all spelled out DoctorCarlton, is probably the best place to find me. I have a podcast called But Honestly that airs every Wednesday, and it stays up for, forever on MSW Media. And it's so Spotify, Apple Podcasts, things like that. You can find it there. My Bluesky is at Dr. Carlton. My X is at Dr._Carlton. Couldn't get the Dr. Carlton on that. Somebody had stolen that one already. Yeah, so that's where you can get me. Pretty much answer all my DMs. So if you have a question or concern, let me know. Listen to the podcast, follow my Instagram, and that's that. I don't charge anybody anything. I always just give free advice.
As you just mentioned your podcast, can you tell me a
Mhm.
little bit about your podcast before we round off?
So I have a podcast called But Honestly. It is about sex, socializing, love, and butt stuff. My co-host is a non-medical person, D'Angelo, who's Puerto Rican and very, very funny. And I say I'm the Mayo Clinic trained gastroenterologist or butt stuff doctor. And he says, and I'm a gay guy who's done stuff, lots of stuff. So we come together as this kind of like medical, non-medical person, but we both have had a lot of experiences as well to draw from because I've done a lot of stuff too. And so it's just very open and candid and honest. And, like this past week, I talked about being at the Rose Bowl and all that stuff. And, we had listener questions. It's funny because Martin Sheen joined our podcasts network's lineup this past week, and one of the confessions from a follower was that he was a straight guy. No, his brother is straight and he is bi, and they live together. And whenever his brother leaves the house, he goes into his brother's bedroom, takes out his used condoms, and drinks the contents.
What?
And so so we started laughing. We're like, yeah, our podcast network's got Martin Sheen over here and us talking about guys drinking cum out of their brother's condoms on the other side. So it's just like, are we gonna lose our show? So
That
we're
is
just
a
we're balls to the wall, anything goes, and then we have a Patreon that is really super uncensored about like stuff that we don't want to broadcast on our podcast. But
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, that's fantastic. That sounds really fun. I have to check it out.
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And just to round completely off, do you have
Mhm.
any piece of advice you would give anyone that can be around butt stuff or fetish, whatever, really?
You are responsible, and it is your decision for every degree of security and safety that you take when it comes to play. It's your responsibility to protect yourself however you deem fit, whether that's condoms or PrEP or doxypep or whatever. It's your decision and your responsibility. And don't let anyone force you to do something that you're not comfortable with.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for coming onto the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
And that was Dr. Colton this week. It's been absolute joy to talk to him about everything that has anything to do with the butt. And it's been really, really fun to talk about that. And also season start. I'm on season 10.
Yeah.
How this is crazy.
Congratulations. That's mind blowing. I'm just in the middle of season 2 and it's quite a chore. So good job.
It's a lot of work, but it's so gratifying, and I love interaction with the people who watch and listen. So I'll be back in 2 weeks with another guest, and go out, have some fun, use gloves, lots of lube, whatever you see fit when it comes to your butt fun, but do it sober and be sexy. Bye.